fighting corruption is as easy as ABC. If you, who is in charge, is not stealing, your relations and those around you are not doing the same thing, you reduce it by 70%. Talk about accountability. It is for the people. This is the only country where you vote P2B in. They know he did not have a house when they voted him. They know he did not have certain cars. They know his children were not driving certain cars. They know everything. Then, suddenly, Mr. P2B builds the best house in his village within 6 months, buys all the choice cars, and invite them for Thanksgiving. And even the church and everybody celebrating somebody they know where the money came from instead of calling police. Issue of cabal. There's nothing called cabal. Unless you decide to create one.
The loans given to state governments. We also have loans given to manufacturing sector. Some of these companies that took this loan, they have not returned it. We have colossal amount of money given to the banks, and this amount runs into trillions of naira. So we need to really interrogate this. And these course, distribution companies, they were also given money by the CBN. So this money need to be returned to CBN in order to get out of the wood. I believe if we do this, it will help the economy to improve tremendously. So I am in support of the prayer already proposed by Senator Yahya Abdullahi and supported by Senator Ali Ndimbe.
So we should begin the amendment of
For information, Mr. President, each state government in 2023 was given 18 billion naira at once. Some of the governors that benefited from that 18 billion naira are here. I'm sure Governor London can confirm that.
And they did not, and they did not repay the money by the time they came to the Senate. But let us rather break them down. Recommendation 1. That recommendation 1A, we can have Roman figure A1, Roman figure A2, Roman figure A3. So by way of amendment. So Senator, sorry, I've seen another financial guru. Senator, just a second. Let me hear from Senator Dan Kwambo.
To a certain extent. But to also remind him, like the 2015, when the government was in recession, the excess crude account was in operation. So instead of sharing $2 billion, it was decided that $1 billion should be given to the governors then. And the repayment will be from the proceeds of the $2 billion to be shared. But I agree that there were a series of repayments that were done for some states. But I know there are some states that did not repay. For 2023, there were a lot of money that was shared to state governments as shock absorber. That was a grant, and that was not repaid. The source of money, nobody knows where it came from. But the major source of this 30 billion, which was approved by this chamber at the time, was from the funding of our various budgets. You don't want us to say, but these budgets are still running. Supplementary 2023 is running. 2024 is running. 2022 is running. So we should find a way to harmonize these budgets to stop running in such a way that we can contain the quantum of money supply into the system. Whatever the CBN governor will say here today, he doesn't know the extent of money that are going into the system. I know so many people in this chamber would not say it, but let us harmonize that one to reduce the quantum of the ways and means that is in circulation. 3, there are also other funding of other programs of government, like the anchor borrower, like so many other initiatives that were done by the central bank, which are through ways and means, which have been categorized to be irrecoverable. So no matter how you want to write them off, it's either you collect them back, if it's anchor borrowers from the farmers, if it is industrial financing from those you have given those monies, or make it in such a way, like doctors say, like a grant, but over a period of time. Yes. So I agree that a special committee should be set up to look at this one in particular. Not that we will sit down and be covering the fence and be protecting ourselves, so that the truth will be known about the embodiment of all this 30 trillion and how we will properly take care of it. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
So what do you interrogate, investigate, and report back to the Senate on those so-called intervention disbursements, and then and ways of even getting back the disbursements? Then you mentioned that some of the monies were also grants. Yes. Okay, information.
Mr. President, I just want to correct Senator Nkwambu. The Ways and Means, the only thing that was authorized by this August Senate or National Assembly, or was utilized as part of our budget, was less than 1 trillion, is 891 billion or so, which was the supplementary appropriations, but the entire money was spent before it was brought here for approval. It was spent before it was brought here for approval. It was because of that. You spend a lot of money like this and our roads are bad. Our roads were bad. Look at the chairman of the committee was here. Then 819 is 819 billion that was now brought as supplementary appropriations, and it wasn't even spent. It was later that it was amended again when you were the Senate President. That's the only thing. That's the only thing that goes as part of the budget. I mean, of spendings authorized by the National Assembly. So it wasn't part of. They were all spent before they were brought here. So that like I say is.
Okay, the distinguished Senator Alaji, what the Deputy Senate President is saying is that the Ways and Means were monies expended outside appropriation, and that before the totality were brought here, that the monies had already been expended without the knowledge of Parliament, and that and therefore the Parliament still has a right to take a look at what the monies were actually used for.
No, remember, distinguished, as the GS said, what this chamber approved was 819. And we said that the other monies that has been spent cumulatively to, was it 20-something trillion? That the details should be provided. It has never been provided to date. This committee or whatever should find out what happened to the money. And some people must be held responsible, or at least they should come and explain to this Senate what they did with the money. Now it's time that people are looking for their money anywhere. Where is that money? That should be the big question. Mr. President.
You were not here when I contributed to the debate on this report. I pointed out that this 4.1 on Ways and Means says the government should prioritize liquidating the 30 trillion Ways and Means obligation of the federal government through a quicker resolution mechanism. I said that recommendation is not precise. Quicker resolution mechanism instead of the securitization for 40 years. And from the way the discussion has come up now, this clarification introduced by DSP has now made that provision very imprecise. If some people spent money before bringing it to the parliament for approval or appropriation, where did they get the money they spent? Because they spent money and they came here to look for approval over money they have spent. Now it's not an obligation again. It is classified as obligation, 30 trillion. This debt overhang, Mr. President, is responsible for the problems we're having. This 30 trillion debt overhang, which nobody says he knows the detail, how they spent that money. Outside 809-something billion, which this parliament, this Senate approved. 800-something billion, they approved. So about 20-something trillion, they knew nothing about it. They didn't know how the money was spent, what it was spent on. And we're carrying it on. So the committee recommended that there should be, the liquidation of that 30 trillion should be prioritized. Liquidation should be prioritized. It means that we should be able to take care of it through quicker resolution mechanism. So they didn't say what this quicker resolution mechanism will be. They didn't say it.
Senator Ome, let me, 9 Senate are saying is that the total amount of this 30 trillion were brought before them for approval so that the records could be set straight. But however, that they left the caveat that yes, we can approve this, but we want to see the details. And that up till now, the details have not been provided. That the only detail provided is the one contained in the 819 supplementary appropriation of 2022, which is the 819 billion, less than 1 trillion. So 29 trillion plus of this amount. And in addition, Mr. Speaker,
No, please, this information is very important. This body, Senate, look at the Constitution. It doesn't have the right when money has been spent for you to rectify. We don't have the right to rectify. We only have the right to approve. Check the Constitution.
Mr. President, we have already legalized the 22 billion trillion that was given to us. For the Ways and Means, we passed that one. But it doesn't mean we cannot investigate. We ask for details were not given to us. So we can investigate how the money was spent. It's our all right. But we have already legalized the spending by passing. No, we have legalized it by passing in this Senate. But we can still investigate. And that's what we are saying. But I think, Mr. President, since I am on my feet, protect me, Mr. President. Since we have almost agreed that we are going to set up a committee, all those details will be done at the committee level. So let's go ahead and set up a committee to investigate all those things. Details will be brought out by the ad hoc committee.
You were there when the Ways and Means were approved.
But the Senate passed it.
Okay, sir. Check. I was not there. Check the record. And as I said, number one, wait now. You cannot, I repeat, you cannot approve illegality. What they did was illegal. The Senate doesn't have the right. Let it be on record. I was not there. I was not there. Check the record. I was not there, but you were there. But I was not there. I was not there. I was not there. Go and check the record.
Well,
And the people of Jigawa Southwest. I think
whether you are there or you are not there, it's binding on you. Have to be there.
I want you to know that I remember being there when the thing was done. Okay.
Mr. President Committee to interrogate this issue because there should be no holds barred. Everything should be made available. Everything should come to the light, so that Nigerians will know what has happened. And it is in your own interest, in the and the interest of Nigeria, that these things, these facts are made available. And if need be, the actors should bear the consequences of their action. We shouldn't protect anybody. We are in a very serious situation in this country now. Mr. President, don't waste time. Please set up this committee to investigate this issue. Thank you.
Somehow, when I kept hearing ways and means, and the senators have been grumbling that they were not aware of the details of the so-called ways and means for almost 29 trillion. I knew that a day will come when the Senate will insist on knowing the details in these ways and means. So what has come up with the current economic situation we have found ourselves, Senator Alero, please, with the situation, the economic marasmus that we have found ourselves today, I think it's important for us to know that government is a continuum. Government is a continuum. So whether the Senate, for purposes of clearing the record, approve it or not, we still have a right. Yes, we have a right to know. We have a right to know the details. We have a right to know the details. Am I right? So we can review it. But if it's such an issue that we need to go into closed session, we can do so. Okay.
Mr. President, I think there's a need to make a clarification here. Excuse me, please. Order. Mr. President, it's good I make a clarification. I understand it. Mr. President,
ways and means. Even though there are two words there, ways and means. Those words are the things causing confusion. Approval or otherwise. Are you going to address it? Do you have the details? Because what the senators are saying is that they would like to know the details of what the monies were used for. Am I right? That's what the senators are saying. You that is going to explain, do you have the details? Chairman appropriation. Did you appropriate for the ways and means? Did you appropriate? Distinguished colleagues, let us give the Senator Alaji, please. I think we have a solution. The Deputy Senate President was chairman of appropriation in the 9th Senate. And he's saying that even though the money was spent and later approved en bloc with a caveat that the details should be provided. Senator Ndume is saying details were never provided. And even went further to say he was not part of it. But that is not important because once the Senate forms a quorum, the Senate has formed a quorum. Approval was given with a caveat that details shall be provided. But now, distinguished Senator Barao Jibrin, Deputy Senate President, himself was the chairman of appropriation. So please explain whether you have the details.
This fact should make clear to everyone. Ways and Means is supposed to be a temporary overdraft that is extended by CBN to the executive arm of government. Now, when you have this kind of situation, it could be due to an emergency. It could be due to emergency. Now, that was the, it is expected if the executive of government and the legislature are on the same page, particularly where the government has majority in the Senate or in the National Assembly, it is expected we will always collaborate and assist the executive of government in the case of emergency. And when those requests were brought here, we knew they were done due to certain situations of emergency. Now, we said, yes, we are going to pass it. In fact, but why did we even put it together this way? 23 trillion. They said they were because of certain situations that were urgent. We said, now, okay, we are going to pass it, but bring your details later. Bring your details later. And it was a collective action by the Senate. And that was done. Even today, if President Tinubu brings in...
please, the President Tinubu will not bring 30 trillion ways and means. We are talking about 30 trillion ways and means. We are not talking about, I can't rule the deputy, but I can only appeal to the Deputy Senate President to stick to the issues here. We are talking about 30 trillion ways and means, not what President Tinubu can bring. This Senate will not rubber stamp anything that we feel is not in the interest of Nigerians. And that's the reason why we are discussing. Am I right or wrong? Those who are in support of what the Senate President is saying, say aye. Those again say nay. So the DSP, stick to the issue.
Exclude the fact that we can still go and investigate what we pass. So we are open to investigation. And there was a caveat at that time that we're going to investigate. The details must be provided. So we are waiting. Anytime the Senate feels that we should go to investigate that, we investigate that. So for one now to say, what happened then was a collective responsibility. And it was done in the interest of the nation and in line with our collaborative stance with the executive arm of government. I so submit.
Of doing something in the interest of the nation, we are saying what you did at that time has put the nation in more mess economically. And therefore, because of the current economic situation we have found ourselves, that there is need for us to look at the details and to know whether they were rightly spent. But then there is somebody that must make a statement on this issue. Senate President Emeritus, dismissed Senator Ahmed Lawan, just say a word so that we can go into the next issue.
And of course, something else happened, so I had to sit down. I have two issues to speak to. First of all, there is nothing that the National Assembly that makes laws on them that cannot look at them and consider them. If there were expenditures wrongly done in contradiction to the provisions of the Constitution, the National Assembly can look at the expenditures, and if sanctions are needed for unlawful or wrong or unauthorized expenditures, the National Assembly can provide the sanctions. That is one. Secondly, Mr. President, what the 9th National Assembly approved or ratified in terms of ways and means was not 29 or 30 trillion. It was 22, but there was 819 billion to attend to deal and address very serious infrastructural dilapidations that we had across the country. So it was not 30 trillion. It was 22, and then, of course, the one we had made it almost 23. So if we have a ways and means that is 30 today, that means something happened between then and now. And it's for the National Assembly to find out what happened. Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, nobody in this chamber should suggest that we shouldn't look to anything that we feel is in the public interest. But let me say this very clearly. What Nigerians want today is food. What Nigerians want today is food and security. This belongs to the medium term or long term action that we need to take. How are we going to provide food for Nigerians and protect their lives tomorrow or from today? This report talks about it. Mr. President, let's not put the cart before the horse. Let's consider it necessary to look at what happened in the past. But we are in the present, and the present is so unpleasant. And we have to act very, very swiftly. Thank you very much.
I think were part of the things that have put us where we are today. That we are saying that the expenses that were not explained, the expenses that we don't have details about, put us in the indebtedness that we are seeing today. The expenses that we don't have details put us in the indebtedness that we have today, and therefore has affected even the ability of government to provide essential needs and services for the public. That we need to look into those things. However, that what is facing us today is a current food situation, food crisis, immediate crisis. So we need to look at what we can do in the immediate to put food on the table of Nigerians. And that is the most emergency we have. And then the aspect of looking at what went on, whether ways and means, whether anchor borrowers program, whether intervention funds, whatever, those are things that constitutionally we are empowered to do, and we shall do so. And if we need to do so, we can agree here on how we are going to take care of those things. But let us look at this report and see the recommendations that can assist the federal government to bring the current food insecurity to a minimal level and then stop the discomfort. I think that's what we are looking at. So let's look at resolution 4.1, the recommendation here, and then we amend them into 3 parts. The first part will be the issue of by the way, why we got to 30 trillion was because of the interest element. They brought that before this current Senate, that the interest had accrued on the 23 trillion that was passed by the 9th Senate, and that it was, they needed additional approval of 7 trillion, which was the interest. So we passed the interest, and then that's what added to become 30 trillion. Okay, so recommendation 1. Who is going to propose the first, because we are going to break them into 3 or so. Senator Yaya, see whether you can propose the first and second.
Thank you, Mr. President. My recommendation, Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, is that the Senate should set up into 30 trillion plus interest, particularly the intervention programs with manufacturers, anchor borrowers, and banks and the power sector, particularly. if we can have an ad hoc committee to interrogate and manufacture, that's what I'm saying. You know, the anchor borrowers, to interrogate the intervention program that culminated into 30 trillion ways and means intervention, which involved the anchor borrowers program, monies or loans given to manufacturers, monies or loans given to power distribution companies, and monies also that were given to show up the banking sector and other such airlines and such other types of interventions. So this ad hoc committee should be set up to interrogate this so that we know exactly what had been done with these resources. This is in keeping with the promise that was made to the Ninth Senate that the details of that intervention will be given, which we never received until the end of life of that Senate.
I hereby second the motion moved by Senator Abdullahi that we set up an ad hoc committee to interrogate and investigate all those things. Yes.
Udo. Senator Ome, you say when we open the box, we'll see everything. I said, if we go there and see your name or your company's name, we will open the box. We have agreed to open the box. We will open the box. But I hope you are not part of it. Okay. Then 4.1b, the committee commends the banks Which bank? How am I supposed to know? So you want to amend it? Because what you are saying here is that the committee commends the bank. We have many banks. Which bank? So the committee commends the Central Bank of Nigeria for some of the measures put in place to address exchange rate volatility and improve liquidity in the foreign exchange markets, including clearing outstanding valid obligations, introducing new operational mechanisms for BDCs and IMTOs, and enforcing the net open position limit. However, in order to ensure transparency and boost confidence in the market, there is need for the committee to further interrogate the 2.4 billion forex transactions adjudged invalid out of the outstanding $7 billion obligations with a view to identifying culprits and meting out appropriate sanctions to serve as deterrent. So this one is very clear. The other one will go with ad hoc committee, but this one will go back to that same committee to find out what happened to the 2.4 trillion declared as invalid. So those in support of 4.1b as recommended say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. C, fiscal discipline and expenditure resolution. Improve fiscal discipline by reducing government expenditure to lower fiscal deficits and promote fiscal sustainability. In this connection, exchange gains from Naira depreciation should be used to wind down government deficits at all levels rather than expand the size of the budget. Those in support of this recommendation say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. D, rapid social safety. I think what we have is not really information. What we have is point of order. So if you have an amendment, there are two things to do. Number one is point of order. The second one is amendment. Amendment. When we are through now, we now have additional prayers. You understand? So, D, provide interventions in the area of food and transportation to alleviate the suffering of vulnerable Nigerians and mitigate the impact of economic challenges. We've agreed on this. Those in support of this say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. E, in terms of compliance and transparency of economic actions, the CBN should ensure compliance with the provisions of the Act in respect of ways and means and account. So I don't think that and should be there. Okay, and accountability through timely submission of its budget, financial statements, and report of its activities to the President and National Assembly as stipulated in the Act. Yes, this is the CBN should be directed. Those in support of recommendation E as amended, that CBN should be directed, say aye. Aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it as amended. Recommendation F, enhance fiscal monitoring collaboration. Provide a legal framework for effective collaboration of fiscal and monetary policies. Those in support of this recommendation say aye. Aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Agriculture and food security. Encourage local industries by identifying strategic commodities to be based on regional state competitive advantage. Those in support of this recommendation say aye. Yes. Amendment.
Of the people who drafted the thing, but the issue really is a question of the agricultural value chains, which starts from primary production to processing and to manufacturing.